Hey everyone, it's Danielle with Smith Crafting, and today I wanted to bring you guys another tutorial where I would show you how to make all of the basic stitches that are used in everyday crochet. So this will be a two-parter, and in the first part we'll do a slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and in the second part we'll do double crochet, half triple crochet, and triple crochet. Okay, so I'm going to start from the very beginning by making a slip knot. And if you're unsure about how to make a slip knot, please do visit the last video I made where I did show in detail how to do the slip knot. And I'll be honest, this isn't my preferred method of doing the slip knot, but I just wanted to show you guys this way because it is the most common way that most people do the slip knot. So let's make a chain of 10, and if you are unsure about how to make a chain, please do visit my last video where I also explain how to do those along with the slip knot. Make sure that throughout this chain you keep an even tension. And guys, please do be aware of this one mistake. I made this mistake so much as a beginner, so I'm making sure to highlight it. So where you had your slip knot, please do not put a stitch in there. That we leave alone. And to locate your chain so that you can count them, each chain is going to be in the shape of a V, which is what I'm highlighting here. And as you can see, there are 10 of these V's here. So we're going to be crocheting back into our chain, and you want to skip the very first chain. We do not want to be crocheting into that. We're always going to skip it and crochet into the second chain from the hook. So I'll start by showing you guys how to do a slip stitch. So what you want to do is insert your hook into that second chain and make sure you're not splitting the yarn. Make sure you're not going into two chains at once. But now you're going to want to yarn over, which basically means wrapping the yarn around your hook like so. And after you wrap the yarn around your hook, you're going to want to pull it through that loop as I just did. Go ahead and pull up the loops on your hook so that they're about even in height. Now pull that first loop through that second one, and that is it. That whole thing right there is your slip stitch. And it might not look like much, you might not really be able to see it, but the slip stitch is the smallest and most simplest stitch there is in crochet. Now I did want to show you guys this because I know that this is kind of hard to see, especially with the slip stitch because it's so small, but knowing where to go next. So this is the chain in which the slip stitch is sitting in. So you want to find the V that is next to it, and that's where you want to go next. There's no stitch sitting in it, so you want to put one in there. So I'll just show you guys one more time how to do the slip stitch real slow. So finding that V right next to the stitch we already did, we want to put our hook in there, and then we want to wrap the yarn around the hook or yarn over, pull that yarn through the loop, pull our loops up so that they're even, and then we want to take that very first loop and pull it through the second one. And boom, we have our second slip stitch. Alright, one last time but a little bit quicker. Find that next V that our slip stitch is not in, go into it, wrap the yarn, pull up your loops so that they're even, and pull the first one through the second one, and you have your slip stitch. And so I also want to show the tops of these stitches will also have V's. These aren't chains, they're just the top of the stitches, so that when you work back into them, they're much easier to see and be able to work back into. But look at how neat these are as well. They're not too big, not too small, and that's how you want all of your stitches to be. The same exact principle as your chain. So I'm just gonna go on and finish the rest of this chain with slip stitches just so that you guys can see what a row of slip stitches look like. Slip stitches are usually used as anchor points, ways to connect your work together, and to make little dips in your work as well. Alright, I'm putting in my last slip stitch, and notice that I'm not putting a stitch into the slip knot because you're not supposed to. But this is what a row of slip stitches should look like. Look at those V's, they're beautiful. There's 9 of these because remember, even though we have a chain of 10, we skipped the very first chain. Now we're good to move on to the next stitch. Using the same chain of 10, I'm going to show you guys how to make single crochets. Single crochets are just a step up from slip stitches, but they are still pretty simple. So we're just going to do the same thing where we skip the very first chain and we're going to go into the second one. We're going to push our hook in, And then after we do that, we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook, yarn over, and then pull that yarn through the chain. This is basically the same way to do the slip stitch, but instead of pulling that very first loop through the second one, we're actually going to yarn over again, and then we're going to pull that yarn through not one, but both of those loops on our hook. And that is the single crochet. So that entire thing right there is your single crochet. And notice also that the loop is big. Like for the slip stitch, it wasn't that noticeable, but now that we have the single crochet in there, you can see how it kind of stretches out that hole and makes it bigger. So now we can see where it is and where the next chain is. So that makes it a lot easier. All right, one more time, slow down. We're gonna do another one. Put your hook into the next chain and then yarn over. Take that yarn and pull it through and pull up your loop so that they are both even in height, and then yarn over again and pull that yarn through both of those loops. And now you have a beautiful single crochet. And here's the large hole, so we'll just go into the next chain next to it, and then we're going to yarn over, pull it through, pull up our loops, yarn over again, and pull through both of those loops for another single crochet. And it's the same thing as a slip stitch, where we have those beautiful V's at the top, so we can easily see how many stitches we have, and we have 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of the row so you guys can see what a row of single crochets looks like. Alright, and here is our row of neat and even single crochets with the V's on top. Alright, now it's time for the next step up, which is the half double crochet. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. We're still going into the second chain, but we are going to yarn over first before going into that chain. And if you need to, just use your middle finger and hold the yarn on your hook as you put your hook into the second chain from the hook. And just make sure that when you go into that chain, you have 2 loops on your hook already. And when you do, go ahead and yarn over and pull it through that chain to make 3 loops on your hook. There we go. And pull it up so that they're all even. And I'm just going to go ahead and use my finger to separate them so that you can see them a little bit more clearly. This is what you should see on your hook. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just yarn over one more time. And now this might get a little complicated, but we're going to pull that loop through all of the loops on our hook. So pull that yarn through all 3 loops. And there we have it, our half double crochet. And see, the chain that we put it in is a lot bigger now, so we can definitely see where we put it in before. And so we can see where we need to put the next one, which is in this V right next to it, where I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys how to do it one more time. So yarn over first and use your middle finger if you need to. Hold it on your hook while you put your hook into that chain. And once you have your hook in there, yarn over, pull that yarn back through the chain and pull it up even with all the other loops on your hook. Yarn over one more time and then take that yarn and pull it through all 3 loops that are right behind it. And that is how you do the half double crochet. Once again, I'm going to move along and I'm just going to do the whole entire row of half double crochets so that you guys can see what they look like. So you can see now why I chose a yarn that changes colors, because as you can see, as the stitches get bigger, we are actually using more yarn, and I wanted to demonstrate that by the color changes. When we did slip stitches, it actually stopped at the lighter color, but now that we're doing half doubles, we have reached the darker color even though we have the same amount of stitches. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you learned something, please do hit the like button. And for future tutorials, please do subscribe so that you can keep up to date with my channel. Have a great rest of your day, guys.